Welcome to lecture 7 of operations management. In today's lecture, we are going to explore the process life cycle. The process life cycle. That's what we are going to explore. Now, we have been able to do a brief introduction in what the process life cycle is in the last or the previous lectures. However, today we're going to dig a bit more and see other components that are connected to this topic. Now, the concept of the process life cycle is in contrast with the more familiar, product life cycle that we know and that we've been able to talk about. Okay, we've looked at the product life cycle. I remember mentioning it, and we illustrated how product life cycle applies to a production system in any given industry or company or manufacturing company. Now, it suggests that a framework that incorporates both concepts, which is the product life cycle and the process life cycle, provides a more useful vehicle for exploring strategy options than does a framework based on only one of them. Now, when you get two of these processes, put them together, they actually provide a more useful, a concept or basis for exploring strategies that are important in reaching at the core objective of a company, which is more output and efficiency of the company or of the manufacturing company. So if we talk about more output, we are talking about higher returns, meaning producing more products, okay, from the raw materials. Okay, now every company's objective is to ensure that the products that are produced are done at a less and less and less amount than the amount that they are sold. So uh, um, because everyone's target is to provide or to get more profit. So the more profit, the better. Now, more profit comes from less what? More profit comes from less amount spent on production. Okay. Now, if we are clear on that one, we say that we reviewed the product process matrix. Okay, I remember we reviewed the product process matrix, and I know maybe some of you may not have been very clear about what this product process matrix was, especially in the first time during the first time that we talked about this. However, I believe and hope that it will be very clear as we dive through the concepts of this lecture today. Now, as a way of combining these concepts into a framework for describing alternative business strategies and examining their implications for the company's manufacturing organization. Now we are looking at Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1. Now, what is Exhibit 1? What are we talking about? Now, Exhibit 1 is one of the matrix that we are looking at. Okay, here we're talking about matching major stages of production and process life cycle. Okay, now I remember when we are looking at process life cycle in the first time, we looked at different components through which a product has to pass through for it to be ready. Okay, a product cannot just be ready within one process. Most of these major companies that you will be a manager of one day, it requires major steps for you to reach at the final product. Okay, now let's explore the exhibit 1. Let's look at the matrix. Okay, so we've got matching major stages of production and process life cycle. So in the first stage, we're having the product structure, product life cycle stage 1. Okay, so in stage 1 we're having low volume, low standardization of the what of the product. Okay, now we're having hands there. Okay, one of hand of the what, the hands. Then second, we're having multiple products, low volume. So multiple product, low volume. So here we're talking about the on step number one, we're having low volume, low standardization, one of the what of its kind, one of its kind, not hand, one of its kind. So low volume, okay. So meaning we are producing goods at a low volume. Okay, then the second stage you are talking about multiple products, low volume. Okay, now here we are having one standardized product on stage one. Okay, stage one we're having one standardized product. Then when you go to stage two, multiple products with low volume. Okay, low volume continues, but the difference is that here we only have one standardized product, whereas here we've got multiple. Then stage two, we're having few major products. Okay, few major products with higher what higher volume. Okay, the volume now has increased. Okay, the number of goods has increased. Okay, number of goods has increased. Okay, that is stage three. Then four, high volume, high standardization. Okay, commodity products. So here we're talking about on stage four now. We have high volume and high standardization. Okay, high volume and high standardization. So meaning that at each and every product we are looking at, a different standard for each and every product. Okay, now this is mainly for bigger industries. Okay, now let's look at the product structure. Now, when you come down here, you will see the process structure. Now, process structure, we're talking about process life cycle stage. Okay, now we're talking about stages. Okay, now as you can see there on the above, there's one, two, three, and four. All these are the process stages. Okay, now let's look at here. It is process structure. So in the row, okay, the row is on the what okay, the row is on stages. Okay, stages. Then here on the columns we're talking about the okay, the row is actually the row is actually these are steps. Okay, then the columns, these columns here, one, two, three, and four. Okay, that is, these are the columns. Okay, the columns we're talking about stages. Then the rows we're talking about steps. Okay. Now, step one here in the row, we are looking at the Jimbo flow. Remember the job shop production system? Here, that's where it applies. Okay, as you can see here, commercial what printer. Okay, so as you can see there, okay, then there is a disconnected line. Okay, then this disconnected line, it is falling under batch production system. Okay, for production under batch production system. Now, when you come here, we're talking about heavy equipment. Now, you need to look at what batch production system is and what it entails. Okay, I'm sure you're able to remember what batch production system is all about. Then we're looking at connected lines. Okay, there, that is the what? The assembly line. Okay, connected line. Now, connected line is found in what? The stage three. Okay, that's where it is common, where we're talking about automobiles. Okay, automobiles, vehicles. Okay, that is the assembly line. I remember I talked about, I explained about assembly line when we were looking at, I talked about automobiles when we we're looking at the assembly line. Okay, so here the last step, which is the fourth, continuous flow. Okay, this is a continuous flow which is found in what? In stage four. Okay, here mainly we're dealing with maybe sugar production system. Okay, sugar production. Okay, so now to just repeat it, or maybe to just coin it in one, we're talking about the job shop is mainly, you remember job shop, it is just one standardization, meaning we're looking at one, then two, the batch, it is in second, three, just like that until we are done. Now, to the left or to the right of the matrix diagonal, implying or respectively greater product diversity and more rapid product change, or fewer, more stable product. Okay, so we are saying from the what to the left or to the right of the matrix diagonal, it implies that there is what greater product diversity and more rapid product change. As you can see, as we move from low to high, or from stage 1 to stage 4, where there is an increase in the diversity on the what and the complexity of the production system. Then two, we are having the above and below. Okay, so above and below. So here we are seeing the columns with there's a line there, there's an arrow that goes down. Okay, which is the above and below the matrix diagonal, implying either flexible or less capital intensive process, or more machinized or cost efficient and rigid processes. Okay, so now the more we go down, the more we are talking about less intensive, I mean, more intensive in terms of capital and cost efficient, as well as the mechanism that is used. Okay, so the complexity in the mechanism that is used. Okay, now we next examine the familiar concept of distinctive competence. Okay, now distinctive competence here, the notion that each company should identify and exploit those resources, skills, and organizational characteristics that give it a comparative advantage over its competitors. Now, remember, every operations manager or every manager of the company, or big industries or industries that have grown, that have ended up becoming very big today, they look at competitive advantage. Now, when you talk about competitive advantage, you are talking about what raw materials to combine, what skill set to combine, and what personalities to combine that will give you the best output. That is the structure, or that is the target for every manager out there. Okay. Now, because of this, we're talking about the concept of what the concept of um, the notion of competence. Okay, distinct competence means that people have to be qualified, okay, to perform a job. Okay, it is not about who you know at this point, it's about who can get the job done. Most of the companies out there have ended up employing people that are relatives or close people that are maybe incompetent, that are not able to deliver. And because of that, most of the companies have actually ended up having low output because of this aspect. And we and as we are looking at this process, this in our first interaction, I mean, in one of the first interactions that we've had, when we are talking about when we're talking about process when I talk about process life cycle, we looked at the concept. Okay, we use this concept to link a company's manufacturing competence with its product and marketing competence. Further, we also considered the management implication of selecting a product and the process position vis-a-vis others in the industries. Okay, now here we're talking about how special is your company putting in place these skills compared to other industries or other companies. Okay, while related to a company's distinctive competence, this choice reflects the added dimension of viability and dominancy in considering various positions on the matrix. Finally, we explored these problems that multi-divisional companies face when they have different divisions positions themselves in different areas of the matrix. Now, we suggested ways in which such companies might organize their manufacturing functions to better scope with such diversity. Okay, now that is about the product matrix. Now here we're just looking at stages to which a company might involve its production system. Okay, now as you go from low level to high levels, you see complexities, okay, in these concepts. Now let's look at most common problems that are faced by manufacturing companies as they deliver the product cycle or the process cycle. Okay, so we're talking about problems common to most companies in manufacturing cycles. In our observation of a number of manufacturing companies that have gotten into trouble, we have been struck by the sense of, you know, aimlessness. Okay, the low es- um, esprit de coups and the lack of perspective that usually tends to uh, permeate them. While there may be a variety of causes for their problem, two stand out as being particularly important. Okay, two problems particularly being of importance. Now, the first is that coordination and mutual understanding between the marketing and manufacturing functions have broken down. Okay. Second, one or both functions have lost their sense of focus. They no longer feel the sense of competency and implicit understanding of priority that comes when both marketing and manufacturing know they are doing something that the company is particularly good at and that the market desires. Now, here the first problem is that, you know, there supposed to be a mutual understanding between the marketing and the manufacturing functions. Okay, now here there is actually a problem. Okay, there is actually a problem. There is one of the companies of I can't mention a company's name, but there's one of the well-known companies that manufactures vehicles. Okay, they produce a vehicle, and that vehicle they are saying it has got, maybe for instance they say it has got this much of horsepower. Okay, that is the company, the manufacturing group. Okay, the manufacturing group are saying it has got this much horsepower, then the marketing team is saying it has got that much that much horsepower, meaning that the horsepower is about the strength of the vehicle. Okay, how much power does the vehicle have? Okay, now this the manufacturing company, I mean the manufacturing team talks about something else, and the marketing team is talking about something else. Now that is actually one of the problems. Certain companies do have problems in terms of coordination. There is literally no coordination between these two components, or among these two processes. Second, one or both functions have lost their sense of focus. They no longer feel the sense of competence and the implicity of understanding the priority that comes when both marketing and manufacturing knows they are doing the what? Something. Okay. Now, that is another second. People have lost focus in terms of their competences, in terms of what job is supposed to be done by what profession. Okay. Now, you can't get a doctor to do a marketing job. Okay, you are giving them stress. They will not be able to achieve it. Why? Because they are not qualified to do that. Okay, so when we talk about competence, we're talking about giving the right people the right positions. And as you give the right people the right positions, you are standing a chance of um, achieving the greater aim, which is to increase the output. Okay, now first, we're also one of the problems we're talking about change in position. Okay, now the framework of the product process matrix concepts provide an excellent vehicle for understanding why these problems occur and how they can be minimized. Okay, so no matter how tightly focused and coordinated a company may be, any change in the relative position of either its product or its production process will expose it to two kind of uh, danger. Okay, two kinds of what? Of danger. Okay, the first follows a change in either dimension without a corresponding change in the others, so that there is reduction in the focus and increased difficulty in coordinating manufacturing and marketing. A company that automates its production process without understanding the problems such automation is likely to cause for its marketing organization is laying the groundwork for a potentially acrimonious future relationship between the two functions. It also impairing its ability to compete as effective as it can among companies that have coordinated and matched more closely the changes in their product and process structures. Okay, now we're saying that the first difficult changing in position, meaning that we're talking about uh, we're talking about how well Okay, how well it brings together different components. Okay, how well it brings together different components in order to have a product. Okay, now as you change the position, okay, as you change the position in each and every, for instance, if I say you change a position in which certain materials are lined up, okay, one, there are dangers that actually comes with such changes. Okay, when a company adopts a change, before making a change, they supposed to be an intensive, okay, understanding, analysis, as well as research regarding to what danger those changes may bring. Okay, now that it exposes to two kinds of dangers. The first one follows a change in either dimension without corresponding change in other. So now here we're talking about if you make changes, okay, there's some correspondence. For instance, you for you to make a change, you have over time developed a system that responds perfectly, okay, in the sense that you have a required amount of material, or you have a required amount of workforce that is responding to a given amount of machinery. Okay, okay, so because of that, that is just one of the examples that you can have. Okay, the second difficulty is that possibly even more dangerous than the first follows when a company tries to respond to a change on one dimension by broadening its activities on the other, such as responding to a product shift, not with a corresponding shift in the product process, but by adding an additional process. So equally, the other change that may come is, for instance, if you want to broaden your activity, if you want to open other branches, you can't just open another branch of the business without a proper understanding. Okay, so those are other dangers that actually may come. Okay, the second one is the loss of focus. Okay, the need for focus is quite well understood by marketing people. They segment markets and design products, prices, promotional strategies, sales, and sales organization to meet the specific imperatives of each segment. If the needs of one segment are quite different from those of another, they do not hesitate to pursue different strategies, and they often use different people in corresponding to those needs. Concentrating on the restricted segment of activities is just as important in manufacturing, but unfortunately, the resistance to piecemeal changes and incremental expansion tends often to be lower there. Okay, the packaging operations of major consumer products and manufacturing provides an illustration of this later. Okay, later difficult. Okay, the sole reason for the division existence in the corporation was to offer a low cost source for highly specialized packaging product. This division, which was evaluated as a profit center, found that it could increase its revenues and profits considerably considerably if its it augmented its basic product line with some new, less standard, high price product. Okay, here basically this concept um, we are talking about changes, difficulties that bring in changes. So you can actually go ahead and study more on this. However, the major focus is we're talking about one, okay, changes in position as well as loss of focus. Okay, loss of focus, we're talking about lack of vision for one particular idea. One lack of vision for one particular idea. So you have one idea that is not well forecast. Okay, so if you have no focus for one, you actually have a problem. So you can actually look at the marketing. You were given an example of the marketing strategies, okay, or the marketing department, how they do their tasks, how they deliver their jobs. Okay, however, you have to study each and everything word by word to have an example. Okay, now Uh, we have an example which is given here of the company that found its standardized product line being challenged by what? Other companies. Okay, more marketing oriented companies that were seeking to segment that market and target specialized forms of the product for each segment. When the company corresponded by expanding its online to offer specialized products, it found that its high volume standardized production process were not economical at those lower volumes, and that if it could not compete effectively with other companies which had designed their process for the specific volume and product standardization of their segment of the market. Now, in both of these examples, and the first one that is explored uh, in this chapter, if the company had considered coordinated and compensating changes in both the product and the process dimension, it could have selected options that maintained or increased its competitive and competence rather than simply try to broaden its activities on one dimension or the other, which diluted its past competence. Okay, while the matrix concept can explain the causes of many failures in previous healthy companies, it can provide even more useful insight for planning product and process changes. Since planning for growth concentrates management attention on decisions regarding both products and process activities, growth is a natural framework for the next segment of this discussion. Here, our next discussion will focus on growth and how do you attain it. But before that, you as a manager, you don't have to make a mistake on these problems, find yourself under these problems. Okay, now you've been given two examples, you need to explore them further and understand them. In an exam or in a test, I can actually be able to give you these same instances and actually just shape them a bit to just see your understanding and see where your understanding lies. Okay, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful session to be with you. I'll see you in the next session when we'll be talking about growth. See you.